Hi, welcome to Sovereign Vision Temple. I'm Skyra. Today, I'm going to talk about spiritual awakening and deep forgiveness. Forgiveness. Whew. That's kind of a difficult. Well, actually, I'm trying. I am watching the words I speak. That is something that's been coming on very intensely for me, is that what we speak out of our mouth, what the words that we use become the spell or what we create in our life. So instead of using words like difficult or, I'm using um, experience or challenge or parts of me. And I have a beautiful friend of mine who is actually she's a mentor in my AA program, who is reminding me it's such a wonderful reflection to have when somebody is on the spiritual realm, that living in the same reality or close to, that can see you and witness the reflection without getting triggered by feedback from somebody, but just listening and allowing. And, that's a lot of I think that a lot of our growth opportunities in this world is to be able to listen deeply to reflections, whether it's somebody who is reflecting back to you. That is your really something that you need to look at. Is that really something that is true for you, or is that something that is being projected onto you? And either whether it's something that doesn't feel good, maybe, in either instance, we can find forgiveness. We can find forgiveness for ourselves, for uh, the lapse and remembrance of who we truly are, or forgiveness for the those that are projecting their own pain onto you in some way, because we don't have to accept it. We don't have to receive those projections. We can just listen and allow and um and decide, is this for me or is this not for me? And know that a lot of people speak from their own pain, their own projections, their own views, their own ways of seeing in their own consciousness. Um, so forgiveness is one of the most difficult things, but it also, or one of the most challenging things, as I keep speaking my words, sometimes, not all the time. I think that forgiveness of myself was one of the hardest things that I've had to move through, because I wanted to beat myself up for what I didn't know in my past, and how I lived my life and how I raised my children, and things that these, and I don't like to use mistakes, but life experiences, because when we're born, we're brought into a certain experience, and a lot of us have major pain and hearts that are shut down, and belief systems that we adopt, words that we tell ourselves, programs that are going through our mind, that we tell ourselves are true. And a lot of it is just a way to protect ourselves. And it's not, we don't even know a lot of times how we may be hurting other people, or in the and or even knowing and not knowing how to what to do about it. Um, so that's why I find being in a community, getting outside help is mandatory to be able to see our own shadow, our own darkness, so that we can forgive ourselves. Because a lot of times we're living in this place of, you know, with I can talk about my own addictions and how I used to beat myself up every time, I didn't want to drink, but then something major in my life would happen because I was, a long time sober. Um, and I would have certain things happen in my life and then I would relapse. And it was usually something that triggered a very deep wound in my soul. Um, I'll talk more about that in a minute, but what there was things that I couldn't see in myself. It was my subconscious programs running. And because of my childhood and the way that I was brought up to believe that there was something innately wrong with me, um, that it was a cycle. The relapses were a way to self feeling like that was a coping mechanism to soothe, but it really wasn't. It was it's a big deception that our mind uses to try to protect itself. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's just something that you have to see. And so when I stopped beating myself up, that was the thing. I used to beat myself up, and I was starting to allow myself to just accept myself as as a mother or a father to a child, that self-soothed myself. And I knew that it wasn't helpful. And then when I was able to stop beating myself up so much, uh, it became easier. It became easier. And because we're sometimes we can be our own worst enemies. We can really be very unforgiving of ourselves. And so today, uh, forgiveness of self allows me to be forgiving of everything outside of me. And for me, it was easier to forgive outside than it was for myself. So we all had these patterns, based on our own experiences. But I find that that is, and for me, when we get into to like a spiritual awakening, there are many different levels of a spiritual awakening, um, depending on what your consciousness is and where it is. And I think the first thing is this, the awakening to ourself, the awakening to there's a power greater than ourself, and that there is something bigger out there than what we're told. And whether you know, for myself, it wasn't finding that in a religious organization. It wasn't finding that in a political party. It wasn't finding that in anything in society. That's what was so frustrating for me, is I had to leave completely, society to individuate and receive my own inner guidance, to listen to my own inner guidance and my own wisdom, my own intuition, to receive what it was that I was remembering. Um, and that is like seeing beyond the veil, seeing beyond the veil of illusion of a control planet. We are living on a planet of control, and that is why there's so much control in the world. I mentioned this in my video. I think it was the day before yesterday, my last video. If you want to watch this part one and part two, about control. And, we're having control for eons from all directions, and the backlash of that is us wanting to control something in our life to make ourselves feel like we have control over something, whether it's money or safety, or thinking that we have our 401k plan, or we have this secure job in our this 3D reality. And my own experience was that all of it was stripped, every bit of it, many times, several times, until I finally got it. Until I finally realized that it was a ground point, a 0.0 point, and I had done a lot of inner work on myself, a lot years, but there was still this deep wound inside of me that felt alone and separate from the world. And I knew that there was always a higher power. I knew that there was um, a higher order. But when you are not but and when we are living in a place where we feel like we have to control, it's very difficult to let go. It's very difficult to uh, surrender fully to that power greater than ourself. And then we can almost surrender too much, and just let everything happen to us, and not take responsibility for ourselves, and just say, oh, whatever is meant to be, that's another program that we got rolling. And it's, there's a balance. I think there's a balance in everything, and I think that that is ultimately where we arrive at a place that's grounded. We're living in the higher spiritual dimensions, but we're also grounded in earth and reality. And I would call that living under God's law and the laws of nature. That is that coming to that realization that we are not under this false matrix control system. We are in a whole another reality. We are living from another reality, and there is a part of us that feels that control, and whether it is in what's happened with the in 2020, I'm just going to say that those of us who know what natural health is, um, the force and control and manipulation that's upon us has been reflected back to us in all different ways. And I think that what it's happened is it's caused people to awaken. It's caused people to find their power, find their inner guidance, their inner intuition, set boundaries, say no, say yes, whatever we need to stay in our personal power and our sovereignty. And in that place is where we can also, and this is one of my biggest challenges of this past 2 years. And I'm going to speak of that because I went into a really dark place. I went into a place where I was angry at the world. I was angry, not the world, I was angry at these powers that were, not the powers that be. And there's a lot of misconception that people say, oh, the powers that be are government and this and that. And they are just part of us. We are all part of the divine creation. It's just that some of us are living in the darkness and the shadows to the depths of control and manipulation and trying to control humanity and power. They want the power, they want to be God. And ultimately, isn't that what we do? When we try to control everything, we think that we should be able to control this world. We should be able to fix everything. And when you have an awakening, the only thing that we can do is awaken ourselves to know that this is just a place we come to experience. and to awaken ourselves and to embody a higher frequency, to embody the fruits of the spirit, so that we can the only thing that we can do to help this planet is to be a reflection of that. But my experience these last 2 years, I was angry. I was angry at religion. I was angry at everything that happened to my ancestors. I was angry at what's happening in the world, what they're spraying in the skies, what the frequencies they're running. And when we focus on that, and was my biggest challenge to move through, was acceptance and knowing that everything is okay. Because they can't win. They, we, when you inflict harm on people, it's only going to backlash on you. There's something called karma, cosmic karma. And in that place, we can laugh and say everything is perfect because God's got this. This higher power's got this. If you want to call it God, you want to call it your higher power, you want to call the cosmic consciousness. Us. It lives through us. And when we can realize that consciousness actually lives through us and we create that, why would we want to live in anger and resentment and unforgiveness? Because it only hurts us. When we are unforgiving and they are doing this and they are doing that, it's really just a way to look at ourselves. And when we can get to the point of forgiveness of all, including they that seem to be inflicting harm on us, we can see that they're just part of us and that we are here to awaken humanity with our forgiveness, with our non-judgment, with our ability to just live in joy and peace and surrender and acceptance. I hope that spoke to somebody today. If you're still here, thank you for listening. Thank you for your subscribes and your likes on my channel. It helps to get this information out. As I said, I am just now offering random speaking, whatever my guidance is for the day. Whatever decides to come through me is what I'm going to speak about. And today it was forgiveness on the higher dimensions and higher understanding of that we're not just this physical reality, and we're not just this spiritual waking on this physical plane, that there are many, many, many different dimensions that we have arrived here on the planet for. And a lot of us have come to assist with the awakening of humanity. So it's time to get to it. I love you. Thank you for being here. Have a beautiful day.